When I came to the US with only $300 in my pocket, I went through a lot of challenges to come to this point. And now I run and own a few businesses, and one of them is a multidisciplinary, multi-location mental health clinic with psychiatry and psychotherapy, where we see 5,000 plus patients per month. I would like to share with you my 7 principles that helped me to go through this journey. Some of the insights and some of the information might help you to make some breakthroughs in your life and overcome some fears. However, at a time, I really had a big faith that whatever it's happening, everything is happening for the better future for myself. I can highlight 7 principles that I can talk about that I think really helped me to become who I am today. And one of it is authenticity. Authenticity is when I am honest with myself, and also when I know who I am. But it wasn't really that easy, because when I came here, I was like 28 years old. I had a lot of belief system and value system that didn't belong to me, that belonged to my parents, that belonged to my maybe society, that belonged to my maybe even grandparents and ancestors, and more than 90% really did not belong to myself. Before, it was a lot of things about achievement in my life. Why? Because that was important for my parents, but it wasn't really for me. And so I found myself in a lot of times not feeling well or burnout. So this is where I started to really ask myself, why am I doing that? What is that for? Let me tell you about my personal story as well, and that wasn't easy. It was a journey, and I'm talking about my personal relationship, my marriage. When I came to the United States, I understood that the relationship at that time, they were not really working really well. Or do I want to challenge myself and be myself and become myself, be authentic with myself, and actually take my path? So I decided to take apart and go towards the divorce. If I wouldn't have the situation with the divorce, it would not take a belief of faith in myself, and would not be authentic with myself, I probably would not have the clinic at this point. I would not be myself, and probably would not employ many people, and probably would not be creating beautiful things and projects in my life. If you're going to ask me how do I find what authenticity is, and as I said, that this is a journey. One is really important principle is to find the resonance. Does it really speak to you within yourself, to your heart? Do you feel the resonance? That's who I am, and it's going to lead you to the path. Another way to find the authenticity, and I would highly suggest you do that for anyone, whether it's you're working with your client as a mental health clinician, you're working on it by yourself. It's a sign of joy or passion. Anything that brings you a joy at this moment would lead you to a next step, and then next step, and then next step. That's going to be a path and a shortcut to the point that will bring you the authenticity. Is a topic of boundaries. It's not only that appears every day within your life, but it's also at your work. Like, for example, let's take mental health clinicians or psychotherapists. We have an issue with maybe some clients or in psychotherapy that they're not really consistently attend psychotherapy. And we need to address that attendance issue with clients and talk about therapeutic values and the issues. Or at times, maybe we need to talk about finances with our clients and the fees, or paying on time and whatsoever. But because we as clinicians, we were trained to treat and heal our patients and clients, but nobody taught us to really create boundaries about finances. And it's difficult for us in many situations to really set up that boundary. And so what I see, for example, in my clinic is the highest challenge for my clinicians is really, or for my psychotherapists, to talk about the attendance, to set up that boundary with clients. Or even if that might not be a clinician or somebody like from the billing department that needs to talk about the finances, that's a lot of fears also would come out to the surface. But setting up boundaries, it's actually something that make you feel good, and something that would make me also who I am today, because I really needed to understand what belongs to me, what belief system would belong to me, or would belong to something else or somebody else. Principle number 3, believing that everything that's happening to you is for your better. and it's happening for you. This principle really saved me a lot of times in my life. I was fired one time from the company. I really had to work on the income at the moment, and I really was thinking, oh my God, is this like, am I not good? Or this is actually happening because it is the time for me to move on and find something better. This faith that I have, it's not something that I acquired. It's something that I was probably born with. I always was thinking this way. Instead of going into negative and toxic feelings, at the end, you actually know that everything that's happening is happening as a stepping stone to the next event. Principle number 4, intuition. It's not something that I've had before. It's probably my recent tool, maybe within the last 2 years. Why? Because I was working on, of course, on authenticity and so on, and I started to listen to myself and to my body and some body signals and my feelings as well. So intuition right now is number 1 tool for me to make any decision. When we hire for our clinic. And it's about relationship, right? The relationship could be personal, but could be in the business. It does not really matter how many skills or certificates or licenses that person has on their resume. It's about my resonance with that person during the interview. And I really had to feel that energy. And we're talking about the frequency. Help me right now to choose the best people are the best, and I do have the best team in my business, just because we resonated the process of hiring with this principle, and it's also part of our value system. Intuition is when you trust yourself. It's like your gut feeling inside. When you ask yourself a question, the first answer is probably the right answer. And if you're gonna keep that principle, you will create a lot of shortcuts to the best decisions within your life. Principle number 5, intention and paying attention. So that's a magical formula for me that I use every single day in all of my decisions. And that also contains some authenticity and honesty with myself. When I'm looking for a decision, I had to ask why. What is the intention behind this decision? I'm gonna give you an example from my business, how the intention helped me to choose some project or keep me with some project within my business. In my business, I diversify some line of services. And at some point, I had to develop a business called Intensive Outpatient Program in IUP. It's a very challenging, very big project. For maybe about like 4 years or 5 years, I really invested a lot within that line of product. And I pushed my team to continue to develop this, but we really didn't like it. We didn't have much joy. We were losing money on it. But because in my first intention was probably to achieve something and maybe to prove that I can do it, instead of having a joy and the balance within myself, within my team and my company, that would create probably more profitability. I was like following all the steps that didn't belong to me. So at the end, I had to choose to cut down the intensive outpatient program just because it really didn't belong to us. It wasn't really a part of the PR of our company. The result of it is a balance and higher profitability. Paying attention is really important. When you set up your intention, it's not enough. It's not wishful thinking what you want to achieve. Paying attention with an intention, meaning that you're ready to do an action. If you wanted to buy a house, and that could be your wishful thinking for a long time because it's a good dream. However, when you're ready for the action to take, then you really think about the intention. If you intentionally start to make some small actions, it doesn't have to be a big one. For example, for me, I started to go to open houses and explore some houses for maybe like up to a year until I found the house, and it was really a house of my dream at a time. The intention with paying attention in your actions every single day as a result dropped into my life, I would say, to my basket, that house from out of nowhere. Principle number 6 is meditation. I believe into energy and the frequency. There's a frequency of you or who I am, or I would say a soul, that's always vibrating on a higher frequency. And there's a frequency of an ego that is pushing you to do something that does not belong to you. And that difference between that frequency would probably feel to some people as dissatisfaction, as a burnout, as an anxiety, and for long run, that might feel as a depression. In order for me to tune in into that frequency, the first tool that I use is I had to go in the morning and use meditation and elevate my frequency to the frequency of who I am, of my soul. And after that, I see a lot of synchronicities happening with by itself resolving many issues, many situations without me doing even any efforts. It just by itself. That way, my life would become much easier. I would use meditation every time that I would have maybe difficulties in the life, or I would need to make a decision, or I would have to just tune in within myself and I feel that my energy is low. I would go and do meditation. So meditation helps you to become yourself. So I would highly suggest to use meditation in the morning because it helps you to set up your day and any time of your day when you feel a challenge. Meditation doesn't have to be hard. It could be really for the beginners, it could be just a couple of minutes per day and sit with your eyes being closed. And the reason for the eye being closed is being better is because you really cut down all the sound that surrounds you, again, that might not be belonging to you and dictating your thoughts and then your belief system as well. For people that meditate, it might be easier. For me, for example, I meditate while I'm putting myself together in the morning, and it might take me only 15 minutes and I just walk. That working better for me. By the way, the walking meditation and moving meditation can help people with ADHD, and I do have some components of ADHD that helps me to kind of go in a resonance with my biological rhythm. Meditation, it's something that your body would ask you to go into when it's out of the resonance of the frequency. So pay attention to your body signal. If you would follow the signal, you would always going to be with energy. You would always going to be recharged within your day. You're always going to be in efficient mode, and you would avoid your burnout. Principle number 7, empathy. It's a big topic, especially for a mental health clinician. Not only, literally could be for anybody. This concept, even though we've been trained on it, we talk about this a lot, I don't think I understood that until really recently. Empathy, it's the time where you can understand people and share their feelings without any judgments at all. And many times what I see in sessions, people use sympathy versus empathy. So sympathy is something that we need to go away in our mental health industry and go with the empathy. Empathy is important. So when you understand a client, when you say, I see. However, when you go into too much of the empathy and share the feeling, and don't set up the boundaries within yourself, you actually might go to a burnout. So you can understand your client, but you can set up boundaries, healthy boundaries. The empathetic listening helped me a lot too in the relationship within myself, with myself, but also with people in my business, in my clinic, people that I work with. I can be authentic and I can be empathetic. I can see why this happened and they maybe could not do some of the things or maybe complete some of the tasks or projects, but you can set up a boundary still and help them with them to create a plan to achieve it. That helped the quality of relationship within my business and also the culture of my business. And we will talk about the culture in some separate video because I think and I believe this requires a special attention. If you are a mental health provider, whether you're a solo provider or an owner of a group practice or a clinic, and you're looking for a community that unite all mental health professionals within our industry across the United States and not only globally, where we can share information and support each other, bring some innovations and educations and so on, I invite you to join our Global Alliance of Mental Health Providers, a community that we have right now in Facebook, and there are more than 10,000 of us right now. And subscribe to my YouTube channel to follow me to get more information about the mental health, the industry, innovation, spiritual and personal growth, and business.